I never imagined that life could unravel so quickly. 2 years ago, I had a family, a home filled with laughter, and a husband I trusted with every beat of my heart. Now, it was just me and my 5-year-old son, Alex, scraping by in a cramped apartment that smelled faintly of old paint and desperation. The day my husband left, he took not only his belongings but the fragile sense of stability I clung to. In the months that followed, I juggled 2 part-time jobs and sold anything I could spare just to keep the lights on. Alex, though young, sensed my struggle. His innocent brown eyes watched me with quiet understanding far beyond his years. At night, after I tucked him into bed with stories of brave knights and unshakable mothers, I'd sit alone in the dark, counting every dollar and wondering how long I could keep this going. The answer came unexpectedly. One gray Monday morning, I spotted a job posting for a personal assistant at Hale Enterprises, one of the city's most prestigious firms. It seemed impossible, too polished, too out of reach, but something in me stirred. I polished my only decent blouse and printed a resume that barely disguised the gaps in my employment history. The office was everything my life wasn't: sleek marble floors, walls of glass that caught the sunlight, and an air of quiet confidence. I felt like an imposter the moment I stepped inside. Yet when Mr. Edward Hale entered the room, his presence softened the space. Tall, composed, with silver at his temples and a voice that resonated with calm authority, he greeted me without the slightest condescension. Our interview unfolded more like a conversation. He asked about my experience, but it was when I mentioned Alex that something shifted in his expression, a flicker of interest I couldn't quite place. "It takes strength," he said softly, "to do what you're doing." I left the office with a mix of hope and dread swirling in my chest. Days later, the offer came. Full-time position, generous salary, flexible hours. The relief was overwhelming. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Working for Mr. Hale was demanding but oddly reassuring. He treated me with respect, occasionally offering small kindnesses: a warm coffee left on my desk, a concerned glance when I looked weary. Alex remained my anchor, his laughter filling the hollow spaces of my days. When Mr. Hale invited both of us to the company's spring gala, I hesitated, but eventually agreed. That evening, beneath the shimmering lights of the grand ballroom, I watched Alex twirl between polished shoes and elegant gowns. Mr. Hale stood beside me, his gaze lingering on my son with an intensity that sent a faint chill through my veins. I dismissed it as harmless affection. I had no idea then how wrong I was. The weeks that followed the gala unfolded in a rhythm I hadn't known for years: structured, manageable, almost comfortable. The salary eased my constant fear of unpaid bills. Alex had new shoes, a warm jacket, and lunches that didn't rely on canned soup and imagination. Still, beneath the surface of our newfound routine, a strange tension began to pulse. Mr. Hale's attention grew more personal. He would pause during meetings to ask about Alex's school, inquire about his favorite books, his hobbies. The questions were gentle at first, laced with genuine curiosity, or so I wanted to believe. Yet they came more frequently, lingering, longer, creeping into moments where they didn't belong. "You're remarkable," he said one late afternoon as I sorted through a stack of documents. "Balancing so much, alone, it's admirable." His eyes held mine a second too long. My heart stumbled. I smiled politely, murmured thanks, and looked away. Soon after, a box arrived at my apartment. Inside was a model train set, the very one Alex had gazed at longingly in a shop window weeks ago. There was no note, but I didn't need one. That evening, as Alex squealed with joy, I stared at the empty space beneath the gift's glossy wrapping, unease settling like cold fog in my chest. The gestures continued. Gift cards tucked discreetly into my bag. An envelope covering the next month's rent delivered to my landlord without my consent. Each time, my gratitude warred with suspicion. Declining the gifts felt impossible. Accepting them tied invisible threads around my wrists. More unsettling was how Mr. Hale began requesting my presence outside office hours. An early morning coffee meeting. A dinner to discuss a potential project. Alone in dimly lit spaces, he spoke with growing familiarity, his words brushing against boundaries I struggled to defend. "I can't imagine how lonely it must get," he said one evening, fingertips tracing the rim of his glass. "You don't have to do this alone." His words hung between us like smoke. I excused myself quickly, pulse hammering as I stepped into the cool night air. For days afterward, I kept my interactions strictly professional. Yet the damage was done. He had seen my cracks, and I had seen his intent. Alex remained blissfully unaware, his days filled with school and innocent adventures. But I couldn't ignore the growing weight on my shoulders. Each interaction with Mr. Hale left me feeling more indebted, more vulnerable. Then came the phone call. "Could you come by this evening?" His voice was smooth, insistent. "There's something important I'd like to discuss. It concerns Alex." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. My instinct screamed no, but necessity whispered yes. I needed this job. I needed to protect my son. I agreed, heart pounding. As I hung up, a single thought echoed in the silence. What had I just walked into? The air was thick with unspoken tension as I approached Mr. Hale's private villa. Nestled behind towering gates and manicured hedges, the house loomed against the darkening sky. I had dressed with deliberate modesty, as if fabric alone could shield me from whatever lay ahead. He greeted me at the door with a smile too polished, his gaze lingering a fraction too long. "Come in," he said smoothly. "I appreciate you coming on such short notice." The living room was immaculate, lit by soft pools of lamplight. A decanter of aged whiskey sat on a low table beside two crystal glasses. I remained standing, clutching my purse like a lifeline. "I won't keep you long," Mr. Hale began, pouring a drink with practiced ease. "You've done so much for Alex, and for this company. You've impressed me in ways I can't fully express." I forced a polite nod, wary. "Thank you, sir." He took a slow sip, studying me over the glass. "But I can see the toll it's taking on you. The exhaustion, the worry. You're doing everything alone." I swallowed hard, unsure where this was going. "I manage. Alex is my priority." "Of course," his voice softened, a predatory edge creeping in. "Which is why I'm offering you a solution. A way out." He reached into a nearby drawer and produced a sleek envelope, placing it deliberately on the table. My breath caught as he opened it, revealing a stack of crisp bills, more money than I had seen in years. $1,000, he said, as though announcing a gift. "All yours. In exchange, I want custody of Alex." The room spun. "Excuse me?" I whispered, disbelief tightening my throat. "You heard me." His tone was calm, as if this were a perfectly rational offer. "I can give him everything you can't. The best schools, the best home. You'll be free to rebuild your life without the burden." The word burden struck like a blow. My son, my heart, reduced to a transaction. "No," I said, voice trembling, but resolute. Mr. Hale leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "Think about it. You're drowning. This is a chance for both of you." Images flashed through my mind, Alex's. Laughter, his tiny arms wrapped around my neck, the solemn promise I had whispered into his ear the night his father left. "I will never let anyone take you from me." Tears burned hot behind my eyes. I said no. Mr. Hale's expression darkened, the facade cracking. "You're making a mistake." I turned on shaking legs, forcing each step toward the door. His voice followed, low and cold. "This offer won't stand forever." Didn't look back. The night swallowed me as I fled to my car, hands gripping the wheel until my knuckles turned white. Alex was safe. For now. But as I drove through the empty streets, dread gnawed at my resolve. I had refused him. But was that the end, or only the beginning? The morning light offered no comfort. I sat on the edge of Alex's bed, watching, his chest rise and fall in peaceful sleep. The offer, the cash, the way Mr. Hale had looked at me, it all played on an endless loop in my mind. Fear tangled with guilt. Could I keep my son safe if this man chose not to take no for an answer? I spent the next hours drafting a resignation letter, each keystroke fueled by determination. No severance, no farewell. I wanted nothing that bound me to Edward Hale. I sent the email without ceremony and switched off my phone. My job, my income, my fragile security, all gone. But Alex was mine, and that mattered more than the emptiest bank account. By afternoon, the first message arrived from an unknown number. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Let's talk." I blocked it. The flowers that followed the next morning were left to wilt in the hall. My silence was a wall, though I knew walls could be broken. Rent loomed, bills threatened. I turned to community resources. A local women's shelter offered temporary assistance. The pride that had kept me from asking for help crumbled. This was for Alex. I picked up freelance typing work, odd cleaning jobs. Every dollar felt like a battle won. One evening, while browsing a community board for work, I met Daniel, a soft-spoken man who ran a second-hand bookstore. He offered me a small project organizing his inventory. We spoke in quiet intervals as I worked. His kindness was gentle, unintrusive, a balm I hadn't known I needed. I never spoke of Edward Hale or the dark choice I'd faced. Some wounds demanded silence to heal. Weeks turned into months. The shadows of those nights at the villa faded, replaced by the warmth of hard-earned normalcy. One crisp autumn morning, Alex tugged my hand toward a park vendor. We shared a paper bag of roasted chestnuts beneath a gold canopy of leaves. He laughed, cheeks flushed with joy, unaware of the battles fought for his smile. As we strolled home, Daniel approached with a shy wave. In his hands was a worn copy of The Little Prince. "For Alex," he said, "a story about love and what's truly valuable." Our eyes met. Understanding passed without words. That night, as Alex drifted to sleep with the book clutched to his chest, I sat by the window, watching the stars flicker in the dark. There would be more trials ahead. Of that, I was certain. But I had faced the unthinkable and chosen love over fear, dignity over desperation. In the hush of that moment, a simple truth crystallized. Some things no amount of money could buy. And as long as I held that truth close, no one, not even a man as powerful as Edward Hale, could take my son from me.